Most people believe retirement is an age, 65, maybe 60. If they're aggressive, 55. But here's the mathematical reality. Retirement has almost nothing to do with age. It has everything to do with whether your money can generate enough income to cover your expenses. And that's where most people make a costly mistake. They spend decades trying to save a large pile of money, when they should be spending a few focused years building a compounding machine. The result? One person works for 40 years and still worries about money. Another spends 5 years building a financial engine that continues producing results long after the initial effort is over. Same economy, same stock market, same 24 hours in a day, completely different outcome. Hey, I'm Brian, and I spend way too much time thinking about how ordinary people can use mathematics to buy back years of their lives. Today, I'm going to show you a little-known framework I call the 235 principle, a compounding strategy that can dramatically accelerate your path toward financial independence. We'll break down the exact numbers, the psychological traps that stop most people, and the freedom threshold that changes everything. And if you're interested in evidence-based personal finance instead of financial entertainment, consider subscribing. Let's get into it. The biggest misconception in personal finance is that wealth comes from large amounts of money. It doesn't. Wealth comes from systems, specifically, systems that continue producing results after the original effort has ended. That's the foundation of what I call the 235 principle. The number is simple. 2 years of foundation, 3 years of acceleration, 5 years of focused compounding. Most people follow the conventional path. Earn money, spend most of it, save occasionally, invest inconsistently, repeat for 30 or 40 years. The problem is that this approach treats investing like an activity. The 235 principle treats investing like infrastructure. Here's the difference. Imagine 2 people each earn the same income. The first person saves whenever they feel motivated. The second person builds an automated investment system that runs every month without requiring a decision. 5 years later, the gap between them isn't primarily income. It's momentum. One is still pushing the car. The other has built an engine. Mathematically, compounding doesn't care about your age, your job title, or your opinions. It only cares about 3 variables: contribution, time, and consistency. The 235 principle focuses relentlessly on those 3 variables, because they are the only ones you fully control. And that brings us to phase 1, the part almost everyone underestimates. If you're new here and just subscribed, comment your name below. I read every comment and shout out new subscribers in my next video. I do appreciate you joining me on this finance journey. Phase 1. Infrastructure before income, years 1 and 2. This phase is boring. That's precisely why it's so powerful. Most people quit here, not because it's difficult, because it feels invisible. Let's use a simple example. You invest $200 every month. Nothing extraordinary. No lottery ticket stocks. No leverage. No shortcuts. Just $200 invested consistently into a diversified portfolio, earning approximately 8% annually. After 1 year, your balance isn't life-changing. After 2 years, you have roughly $5,200. And this is where psychology becomes more important than mathematics. Because when people hear that number, they often think, that's it? They expected fireworks. They expected dramatic progress. They expected to feel rich. Instead, they see a number that appears small compared to the effort required. What they fail to recognize is that the portfolio balance is not the primary achievement of phase 1. The system is. For 24 consecutive months, you proved something extremely valuable. You proved that investing no longer depends on motivation. It no longer depends on remembering. It no longer depends on discipline every single month. The contribution happens automatically. And automation is one of the most underrated wealth-building tools ever created. Think about it this way. Every month you make a financial decision manually, you're introducing the possibility of failure. You can delay it, reduce it, skip it, rationalize it. But when the process becomes automatic, investing stops being a decision and becomes infrastructure. That's the hidden milestone of phase 1. Not $5,200, not market returns, not investment performance. You're building a machine that quietly accumulates assets regardless of how motivated you feel on any particular day. And beneath the surface, something else is happening. You're laying the foundation for the phase where compounding finally becomes visible. That's where things get interesting. Phase 2, when the system starts working, years 3 through 5. This is the stage where most people experience their first real compounding revelation. The rules haven't changed. You're still contributing $200 every month. The market isn't suddenly performing miracles. You haven't discovered a secret investment. But something important begins to happen. The portfolio starts helping itself. Around year 3, your portfolio reaches approximately $10,500. At this point, the account is generating roughly $70 per month through growth and returns. Notice what just happened. You still contributed the same $200. But now the system is adding another $70 on top. Your effort remained constant. The system output increased. This is the moment the effort-to-result ratio starts shifting in your favor. And the shift becomes even more noticeable by year 5. At roughly $18,000 invested, the portfolio may be generating around $120 per month. Again, you contributed the same $200. But now the account is adding meaningful assistance of its own. This is why compounding feels slow at first, and then suddenly appears fast. The early years are dominated by contributions. The later years are increasingly influenced by growth. If this is changing the way you think about investing, take a second to hit the like button, because this next point is where many people accidentally destroy years of progress. The single biggest threat during phase 2 is not a market crash. It's not inflation. It's not even investment selection. It's interruption. Specifically, withdrawing money the moment the portfolio starts becoming useful. Imagine withdrawing $1,000 during this stage. Most people evaluate the decision based on the immediate loss. $1,000 removed. End of story. But compounding doesn't work that way. The real cost is the future growth that money never gets the opportunity to produce. That same $1,000 can ultimately represent more than $2,100 of lost future value, because you've removed not only the principal, but every future layer of compounding attached to it. This is why wealthy investors often appear patient. They're not necessarily more intelligent. They're simply protecting the engine. They understand that the most valuable dollars in the portfolio are often the dollars left untouched. Phase 2 is where the machine starts proving itself. The danger is becoming impatient right before the mathematics begin working in your favor. Phase 3, the freedom threshold. Now let's address something important. When people hear the phrase 5-year retirement, they often imagine becoming extraordinarily wealthy in 60 months. That is not what this strategy is designed to do. The goal isn't luxury. The goal is independence. There's a difference. Luxury requires ever-increasing spending. Independence requires sufficient cash flow. And this is where we arrive at the most important number in the entire framework. Your freedom number. Your freedom number is the amount of invested capital required for your portfolio to generate enough income to cover your monthly expenses. Not your dream expenses. Not someone else's lifestyle. Your actual monthly expenses. The calculation is surprisingly simple. Take your monthly expenses and multiply them by 150. That's it. If your monthly expenses are $1,000, your freedom number is approximately $150,000. If your monthly expenses are $1,500, your freedom number is approximately $225,000. Notice what happened. The target stopped being random. Most people say they want financial freedom. Very few can tell you the exact number required to achieve it. Now you can. More importantly, you can begin measuring progress toward it. Every contribution, every month, every year, the portfolio moves closer to a clearly defined threshold. And once again, this is where the mental model matters. Financial independence is not a destination. It's not a finish line. It's an engine that converts invested capital into ongoing income. Some people continue working after reaching it. Others reduce their hours. Others change careers entirely. The point is not to stop working. The point is to gain options. Because options are what money actually buys. The 5-year objective is not to become rich. The 5-year objective is to build a compounding engine powerful enough that future progress becomes increasingly self-sustaining. And that brings us to exactly what you should do next. The first action step starts today. Calculate your maximum monthly contribution. Not your ideal contribution. Not the amount you wish you could invest. The actual amount you can consistently commit every month for the next 5 years. Open your budget. List your income. List your expenses. Calculate the difference. Then choose a contribution amount that is realistic enough to survive bad months, unexpected expenses, and temporary setbacks. Consistency beats ambition every single time. The second action step happens this week. Automate that contribution. Set up an automatic transfer for payday. Not the day after payday. Not whenever money is left over. Payday. The reason is simple. Money that reaches your checking account is vulnerable. Money that gets invested automatically is protected. Remove yourself from the decision-making process. The less often you negotiate with yourself, the more reliable the system becomes. Remember, Phase 1 wasn't about returns. It was about infrastructure. This is how you build it. The third action step should happen this month. Calculate your freedom number. Take your monthly expenses and multiply them by 150. Write the result down. Put it somewhere visible, because a target you can measure is infinitely more useful than a dream you can only imagine. The fourth action step begins immediately. Commit to a 5-year no-touch policy. Write it down, sign it. Treat it like a contract with your future self. The portfolio is not a savings account. It is not an emergency spending fund. It is not a reward account. It is a compounding engine. And engines become powerful when they're allowed to keep running. Protecting the portfolio is often more important than growing the portfolio. Never forget that. Let's go back to the two people we talked about at the beginning. Both earned similar incomes. Both had access to the same investments. Both lived through the same market conditions. The first person followed the conventional path. They saved when they felt motivated, skipped contributions when life became expensive, withdrew money whenever the account balance looked useful. 5 years later, they have some savings, but no system, no momentum, no compounding engine. The second person followed the 235 principle. They spent 2 years building infrastructure, 3 years allowing compounding to accelerate, and 5 years protecting the process from interruption. They didn't become an overnight millionaire. They didn't discover a secret stock. They didn't win a financial lottery. What they built was something far more valuable, a system that continues working even when they aren't. And that's the real lesson. Financial independence is not created by dramatic financial decisions. It's created by thousands of small decisions repeated consistently over time. The mathematics are not exciting. They're better than exciting. They're reliable. 5 years will not solve every financial problem. 5 years will not make everyone wealthy. But 5 focused years can permanently change the trajectory of your financial life. If you enjoy breaking down money through mathematics, psychology, and first principles thinking instead of financial myths, make sure you're subscribed, because that's exactly what we do here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.